Hello, good morning. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday, 0707, July 7th, 2020, 2025. 2025. I'm going to call this Weird News Wednesday. I'll explain in just a moment. Thank you for tuning in. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short, because we bring you way too much information. Today it's going to be weird information. One bit of like serious news, obviously. It's going to be like the Russia-Ukraine stuff. Donald Trump allegedly claiming that he's going to bomb the shizzle out of Moscow. We'll show you that clip.
The Kizzle thing.
The Kizzle coup. So we're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please be sure to hit that like button wherever you're consuming this content. And please follow, subscribe. It's free to do so, especially those of you on YouTube. Don't be like creep watching. Show us some love. Hit the subscribe button. It doesn't hurt you. We're just a few handful of subscribers away on
64,
YouTube.
But hey, who's counting?
Exactly. Just a handful away. So if you're watching this and you want us to be able to continue to do this, please just hit that subscribe button. It will really do us a big help in just hitting that little button. So like I said, today's Weird News Wednesday. We will be talking about all this stuff happening with Moscow and Taco Trump, as he's called, right? Flip-flopping yet again on another major topic. Basically turning his back on his entire platform, in which as what brought him to his second term. I would say this was like the last thing, Ted, that everything else he's abandoned. This now flip-flop on Ukraine is now just full bore. You've gone in the other direction. We now have Donald McCain as president. Everyone we vote for becomes John McCain, no matter who they are, once they get into power. So we'll talk about that, the threats to bomb Moscow. We'll talk about a weird sex injury that led to death and something you should learn about.
This is news you can use. This is news you can use.
It really is. And this time it involves a woman. Mm-hmm. Usually, the vast majority of sex injuries / death involves men, or not just sex with a partner.
I for one am happy to see this level of equity.
That's right. Women too can kill themselves by trying to seek sexual pleasure, but we'll explain how this can happen because.
And you'll never look at a whisk quite the same way.
But why you should actually really understand your blood pressure and hypertension and all of that, because you can die.
Before you reach for the whisk.
It's more than just beating an egg, Ted. We'll talk about some antidepressants as well.
Very important.
I guess
this is actually super important.
Yeah, given how basically all Americans, pretty much, I think like 80% of Americans are on some sort of SSRI. We'll explain that. The TSA, new rules, dramatic new rules. And I honestly think this came from Kristi Noem herself, Ted, because she doesn't want to take off her expensive shoes going through
most likely
the queue. So really, I think that's what
on
it is.
Her way to visit on her way to visit whatever gulag she's going to visit.
Yes. The Gulag Princess is doing something I would say was motivated by her own desires to not take off her shoes, but it's going to affect the rest of us. So that would be pretty amazing. And then last, we're going to talk about, we often talk about colossal biosciences here on this show. We talked about like bringing back the dire wolf, when Colossal, this biotech firm, is bringing back the dire wolf. Well, now they're teaming up with a very famous filmmaker to bring back this ginormous
terrifying bird.
So stick around if you want to find out weird news this Wednesday. So this is the spot for it. So with that, hit that like button, hit the follow, hit the subscribe, and let's hop to all the weird news, Ted. And don't forget, Ted, you have to wait till the screen till you see yourself back at the screen.
Manila, you're breaking up a
before you
little
talk.
bit.
Am I?
Yeah, why don't you jaws it? I'll read some news. Maybe you can troubleshoot while I do that.
Okay.
Said yesterday the United States will send more weapons to Ukraine. That was just a few days after the U.S. had paused sending weapons to Ukraine. Okay, so Trump is obviously flip-flopping after the Pentagon announced last week that it would hold back delivering some air defense missiles to Ukraine, as well as precision-guided artillery and other weapons, because actually the United States doesn't have any left for themselves, thus opening that opportunity for the Canadians to attack us anytime. So looks like now
they have horses, Ted. They'll just
they do
mount the horses and come down.
They'll get all drunk on their beer and they'll come down here. So we have to, Trump said, they have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. We're going to send some more weapons, defensive weapons primarily. I love the term defensive weapon. It's so funny. The pause had come at a difficult time for Ukraine, which has faced increasing air barrages from Russia during the more than 3-year-long war. Russian attacks on Ukraine killed 11 civilians and injured over 80 other people, including 7 kids. That, according to the Ukrainians yesterday. Trump, speaking at dinner for Bibi Netanyahu, said that he was pissed at Putin. Trump has tried to resolve the war, but basically is now saying that he's not getting anywhere with Putin. He said that Putin's been nice, but basically hasn't done what Trump wants. We don't really know what Trump wants him to do exactly. He had threatened, but held off on imposing additional sanctions against Russia's oil industry. Hard to imagine really how many more sanction arrows Trump has in his quiver. But anyway, Lindsey Graham, who is absolutely the most heterosexual member of the United States Senate, Republican of South Carolina, said that Trump gave him the go-ahead to push forward with a bill. This could just be doesn't mean he's gonna sign it or whatever, but it's I think it's part of Trump's negotiation posture for a 500% tariff on goods from countries that continue to buy Russian oil. This would have big ramifications for China and India, both huge countries that buy Russian oil. I'm not happy with President Putin at all, Trump said on Monday, not unlike a child, not for the first time. The strain of keeping Russia's invasion at bay, lack of progress in peace talks, and the halt of weapons from the U.S. have compelled the Ukrainians to look for more help from the U.S. and Europe. At the same time, it turns out that there's leaked audio that shows Trump talking to some wealthy donors last year before the election, and he claims in this audio to have threatened President Putin with, quote, bombing the shit out of Moscow. Manila, let's hear the tape.
Yeah. Let's have a listen. It's real. Well, we haven't vetted it. I just want to say that
in the age of AI, you do have to be careful.
Right.
But let's go ahead. But CNN has aired it, so they seem satisfied with it so far.
Yeah, but CNN has been a source of a lot of fake news. But I do believe this happened. I'm not saying this one is fake. I do believe that somebody at this wealthy donor dinner.
It could have.
Yeah, I do. I find this feasible. So you guys listen. The audio's kind of garbled, hard to make out. So you got to listen very carefully. Okay, here we go.
So Ukraine's another one would have never happened.
More volume.
October 7th would have never happened. Ukraine would have never happened. I was with Putin and I told him, I don't know if you do it. We're going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. And you have to say it. It's almost like my father would say, you're going to learn to take the lumps out. So I said, Vladimir, look, you and I are good friends and we like each other. We really like each other. But if you go into Ukraine,
can't hear it.
Bomb the shit. I have no truth.
That's how it is.
No way. Don't forget, I'm the one that turned off the pipeline. He said, well, you did. And then Biden lets in, and then they say, I'm weak on Russia. These guys, it's all, I ended the Nord Stream 2. And then when this guy came in, he gave him, in the first week, the right to build it. I had it done. It wasn't going to happen. And then Biden comes in, and then they say, oh, he's in the pocket of Russia. Putin said, if you're in the pocket, I'd hate to see where you come. It's the biggest project they've ever had, and I had it done. But I said to him, and by the way, the same thing with she. It was almost an identical conversation. With Putin, I said, you go in to Ukraine, we're going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public wants it. The public. So.
Okay, so I'll paraphrase what happened there. Trump basically is talking to a room of wealthy donors. This is ahead of the 2024 elections, and he's telling them supposedly this story of when he was in office in term one, before the Russia-Ukraine war, and that he was, that he always had this cordial and friendly relationship with Vladimir Putin, and that he threatened Vladimir Putin that if Vladimir Putin were to enter Ukraine under Trump 45's watch, that he would, quote, bomb the shit out of Moscow. And then he went on, the crowd laughs or whatever, and it's very hard to hear. But then he goes on to say that he allegedly threatened Xi Jinping as well with similar bombings of Beijing if Beijing goes into Taiwan. So, Ted, like this, we know Trump talks a lot of shit, right? Like he's a dude and he's a New York guy. They talk a lot of shit. And I don't know that conversation actually happened. I would like to see transcripts because, all these calls, they're recorded and many, many, many ears are on the line whenever you have these bilateral conversations between world leaders, right? So it would be out there if somebody can get their hands on it. I don't know how true this is, but do you believe it, Ted? I don't believe that kind of direct talk telling Vladimir Putin, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. And he says, oh yeah. And somebody asked him in the background, like, do you think like they believed it and that Trump goes, yeah, I think Vladimir Putin believed, maybe 10% believed it. I don't know how you quantify that, but he's like, he 10% believed it. And I think she did too. Xi Jinping did too, like 10%. He's like, you don't need even 10%. You just need 5%. How the hell do you quantify how much somebody believes a threat? Like 10%, 5%. I don't personally, I think the recording might be real, but I don't think the story that Donald Trump is telling is real. I think that is a tall tale that he's telling a bunch of donors to try to gin up or shake them down for more money, actually, because he's trying to talk tough. What do you think?
I completely agree with you. Totally. So, this brings us back to the Richard Nixon administration. Richard Nixon was obsessed with what he called the madman theory. And basically, this was the perception. He wanted to create the perception that he was unpredictable and irrational, capable of anything, might even use nuclear weapons, right? And the idea was that he could intimidate his adversaries, particularly like the USSR and North Vietnam, into granting concessions for fear that, he would launch some kind of erratic response to something. And he used to talk about this madman theory with his Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, all the time. He's on the White House tapes. Trump, came of age during the Nixon administration and was very influenced by Nixon and his approach. He even uses a lot of the same rhetoric as Nixon, like about the silent majority and stuff like that. He uses a lot of the same rhetoric. He has a lot of the same sort of targets politically. Anyway, long story short, I agree with you. This is bullshit. I think, Trump certainly has threatened foreign leaders with tariffs and all sorts of other things that we've seen in recent months. But he's threatened both sides in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, at various times. I'll sanction you. I'll cut off your weapons. I'll increase his weapons. to try to get what he wants. I mean, I to me, it's not the madman theory; it's the realtor theory, right? The realtor who's trying to close the deal tells the seller,
I've got multiple offers.
This house is a piece of, no, the seller tells the seller, your house is a piece of shit.
Right.
You'd be lucky if you ever sold it. It's not up to code. It's gonna fall down any second. Be lucky if you get $10. Then you tell the buyer, this is a historic landmark. Washington slept here. There's oil in the backyard. It's worth billions of dollars. If you don't get it, you'll be living out on the street and beating yourself up for the rest of your life for not having bought it. That's what Trump does. He's a real estate guy. So that said, I don't even think that happened here. I don't believe for 1 second, like you, Manila, that Donald Trump was ever on the phone with Vladimir Putin, who is a very serious man, unlike Donald Trump, and that he told Vladimir Putin on the phone using his own mouth, his own voice, and said, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. Or even, I'm not going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm going to attack Moscow. I don't believe that at all. I call bullshit on that. I don't think it's true. And I think one day when we get all of the Trump files and these calls are all recorded between foreign leaders, and they're all transcribed. When the National Archives releases those in the years 2075, I'll be dead. But I guarantee you that there will be no recording of him saying that to Putin. No way.
No chance in hell. This is I know Donald Trump doesn't drink, but everybody else at the dinner I'm sure was drinking. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those bullshit tales of like men. It's like a pissing contest, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like one of those
locker room talk.
Drunk dinners.
It's literally like I grabbed her by the pussy. It's like that.
Like it did like that.
I never believed, by the way,
happened.
that he grabbed any women by the pussy.
No.
Ever. I don't believe that.
No.
No, but he's just talking shit.
He talks shit like a dude, especially a New York dude. So I don't believe any of that happened, because you would be insane to talk to this man on screen right there to say, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Moscow. And then to hang up and like the next call, he's like, get me Xi Jinping. And he calls him and he's like, hey, Xi, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Beijing. You expect us to believe that you told two very serious world leaders, the leaders of China and Russia, you expect us to believe you told them that you're going to bomb the shit out of their capital cities? I mean,
nope, I don't believe that. And by the way, that's to Trump's credit. I give Trump credit for not saying anything that reckless or stupid.
In real life. Yeah.
In real life, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In real life. I think he does love to tell stories, like a lot of these bullshit wealthy men do, and overinflate their own egos, because most of them are narcissists, right? If not all. But when you get to that level of like wealth, fame, and power, you talk a lot of shit. And especially when you feel like you're in your own circle, like your safe space, right? Like, remember the whole Mitt Romney, what did he call them, maggots or something, remember that conversation, that donor dinner that did Mitt Romney in?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so Hillary had basket of deplorables. And what was Romney's comment about?
I thought Romney. Let's check the Rumble Room. I bet the Rumble Room knows. What did Mitt Romney say?
Obama said that like the right wingers were obsessed with God, guns, and gays. And,
yes.
And then Romney said something, and I'm not even talking about
something about like poor maggots or something.
No, it was something
like that.
Like it was better. It was more interesting than that.
Yeah, it was, but it was to that effect of like basically us poors. He said he was degrading us poors, and so every and it's always during the campaign cycle, like when you're stumping and trying to like shake the pockets of these wealthy donors, you're gonna say whatever.
Okay, here it is. There are 40%, 7% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. There are 47% who are with him, who are dependent on government, who believe they are victims, who believe the government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe they're entitled to health care, to food, God, maniacs, to housing, to you name it. These are people who pay no income tax. My job is not to worry about these people. I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their lives. So this was about like the 40% of basically takers, right? I think is what he takers, not makers, was basically it.
Right.
And by the way, I have a little inside scoop about how that was recorded. So I know how this was recorded.
I thought it was like a server or a bartender.
Yes, but I know how. I know the details because I know the person who broke the story. So the server duct taped his cell phone to the wall inside the backstage next to where Romney was speaking, hit record, and went and served. So he's not walking around the room with his tape with a recorder on. That's why there's a consistent sound quality to it. So he just taped it to the wall, and basically he wiretapped the room with his phone.
That's crazy. So this audio of whoever was in the room, it could, for all we know, it could be another bartender, it could be another server, we don't know. But it sounded it was like brushing up on the mic of the phone. I presume it's a phone because everybody's got a phone in their pocket. But I presume it was like in somebody's hand because you could hear it brushing up against like clothing.
Mm-hmm. It
so
might
I
have been
presume
in their jacket pocket.
Right. It sounds kind of muffled and definitely I do think it was real.
I think the audio recording is legitimate. I think what he said.
I think his story.
I think Donald Trump is an untrustworthy narrator. Breaking news! Stop the presses. Never heard that before.
Yeah,
breaking. Politician lies. Breaking. Donald Trump doesn't always tell the truth. Duh. All right. Anyway,
I think it's another tall tale.
We have lots else to talk about.
And also, Ted, I also think that what we're seeing with this flip-flop with Ukraine, with the actual arms stuff, is it. That was like the last thing that I was crossing my fingers for in my Trump vote was this particular fucking topic. This particular, end the damn war. And he's not coming to terms with the fact that Russia is winning, winning.
Pittsburgh dude has a comment, which you can probably put up from the chat,
from the
StreamYard chat. Does Trump voter Manila still think she's getting her RT job back from Trump?
Yeah, that is what I was saying. That was the last thing that I was hoping for.
Yeah, so
how's
that
was it.
Now? How's it looking?
I didn't really have much faith in the guy. I was only crossing my fingers because you know what? Had I voted the other way for Kamala Harris, I would be guaranteed that this
there was another way. There's the
other person was never going to win.
Way.
I always vote the other way. I always vote third party.
Green
I always
party.
vote third party, and it's not going to happen.
All the way.
We're not there. It's just not there. The infrastructure is not there. It'd be another vote in the wind.
You know what? And if people in 1856 and 1857 could have said the same thing, the infrastructure for this weird new third party with this tall dude from Kentucky, the rail splitter, is never going to work. There's no future in this third party. Then the Republican Party wouldn't exist today, right? It was a third party. So it's like people are like, well, it's kind of like if you don't vote for a third party, you don't finance a third party, and everyone else is waiting for someone to go in. You're kind of like the penguins, all waiting for the first penguin to jump into the ocean in the nature special. Someone's got to be the first penguin. Someone's got to go. You only control your own destiny, Manila.
My point is, I've always, since Al Gore, I've always voted third party. But the problem is the structure, the structure and infrastructure that's in place. We just talked shit about Elon Musk the other day. And I went into this in detail. From the ground up, we need election reform. And until election reform happens, including getting rid of Citizens United, ain't nothing changing. It's not gonna change.
And you're not gonna get election reform at all under the system ever.
Unless Elon Musk, as he's trying to launch his whatever America party, unless he throws money into literally getting stuff like Citizens United flipped, literally changing how ballots, how you get on ballots from state to state.
You're totally mistaken.
Not going to work.
You're
It's
wrong.
not
That's
going to
not
work.
gonna. That's not gonna happen. The way
And you
you're
need
not
more
gonna,
buy-in. You need
only
more
the
buy-in from Americans, and
you're only gonna get it.
Americans haven't bought in.
You have to do, basically, you have to look at what worked in the past and reject what failed in the past for third parties. So the billionaire model, Ross Perot, that does work. So because your biggest problem is ballot access.
It's not me you have to convince. It's not me you have to convince.
Musk.
It's the 150 million other Americans.
Okay, well, you know what, Ross, first of all, you have to be on the ballot, okay? So if you're not on the ballot, no one's voting for you, right?
But that's what I said. Why Elon needs to get on the ground game and change how you get on the ballots state by state.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, what you have to do is launch the party, you can use the existing rules to get on the ballot. You have to pay a company to get the signatures so you can get on. Like in Ohio, where there was issue 1, which is the bill 2 years ago, the ballot initiative that legalized abortion in Ohio, right? That would cost that those people hired a company that got the signatures so that they could get on the ballot. It cost $16 per signature. They had to raise tens of millions of dollars and to pay for that to get on the ballot. They got on the ballot and they won. Okay, but the point is, this guy's, Elon Musk has the money. You need 1.5 million signatures to get on all the ballots across the country for every race. Well, Elon Musk has $20 million. He can pay that. Get on all the ballots, then get into power. Then once you're in power, you can change the rules. But you have to get into power in any system using the existing rules, unless you want to use the violent overthrow of the state through a revolution, which I'm all in favor of. But that's a different thing.
But the reality is, Elon Musk needs to, if you're going to play within the rules, and that's where he needs to focus his money. That's my point. In order to change the laws, like I said, the first thing is ballot access. That is like the first thing. I would say. And that's what I said from the get-go. But you're not hearing me. That's what I said from the get-go.
I'm just saying
Elon Musk
but you can't
change the ground game.
You can't change the rules first. The rules are the rules. You're going to have to play within the rules,
unless it happens
to get into a place to change the rules.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Is like,
so
if you
can't
just,
the first step is to get elected.
Like, be a big swinging dick in there and say I'm going to change everything. That doesn't happen.
And as for the American voter, they're going to have to fucking donate to this party and vote for this party.
That was my last point to you. Was you don't have to convince me. Like I said,
this party's never going to fly, though.
After Al Gore, I've consistently voted third party, and even in local elections, I tend to vote third party.
You were doing great. You should have kept going.
But the problem is there's not enough buy-in. There's just not enough buy-in by other Americans, because
there never will be under the existing system.
It's mostly because they are unaware of how this all works. So the ground game is so fundamental and core to anything changing in our electoral process. And I don't think Elon Musk understands that. So that's why we're left with having these horrible choices. Like I always said on Sputnik, minus the bad words. You're either stuck with a poop sandwich or a poop salad for lunch. Either way, you're eating shit. So that's how this...
You went and voted for one of the shits.
I voted for one of the shits because there was only one of the shits that was willing to say that he was trying to end the war. Because even Jill Stein wasn't even stepping up to say that she was going to end the war. She was talking in these nebulous terms. And I'm not saying I personally know Dr. Stein very well or anything, but I've met her on multiple occasions. I think she's a brilliant woman, but even she wasn't willing to step up to the plate and say, I'm going to fucking end this shit. And if, like I said, I'm voting in my personal vested self-interest, and I don't give a shit what anybody says, that's how you should vote, is if you find a sliver of any self-interest in whoever, then vote for that person.
You really think you should vote, that people should vote primarily based on their I think that's immoral. I mean, I think for example, Well, I mean, okay, so like because I
I
think
know Robbie's got thoughts. Stop typing, Robbie. I'm going to toss you on
should
the screen.
vote based on your ideals. I mean, so your ideals
Right. Your
so for
ideals
example,
and self-interest. My ideals and my self-interest align.
Ideals and self-interest are completely different. For example, if someone's on welfare and they don't have a job, it is in their self-interest to vote for whoever is going to increase the welfare
Well,
dole.
like I said, for me, my ideals and my self-interest align. So
but
I voted in the way that aligned for my interest.
But here's the thing.
That's not true. You don't believe in most things that Trump believes in.
No, but my main concern was one point of that main point.
He was you just contradicted yourself.
No, I didn't. The main point is that he was the only one on any of the ballots saying, like, he was strongly pushing to end the Ukraine war.
No, we understood all that. We get it.
So that was it. Like that is it. There was nobody else on any ballot on any. I don't know about any state because I don't know. But at least here where I am, the choice was going to be clear. It was either going to be Harris or Trump. Like, I don't know about where you guys are at, but where I'm at, it was one of those two. Just like for governor, it's going to be Sandberger or Sears.
Anyone who paid attention to Trump in his first term knew that he was a lying sack of crap. And we have this thing called a record to prove it. He came in and said he was going to drain the swamp and decrease government spending. He outspent Obama in 4 years.
Tell me who on the ticket has not been full of shit.
Well, that's my point. So in this case, like, Ted voted for Jill Stein. I voted for Dr. Shiva because the guy's just a complete dick. And so I'm pretty sure I'm the only dude in Montana who voted for Dr. Shiva.
I bet that's true.
I'm sure it is. But I mean, that's the point.
We could find that out. I think the records they have every.
Could Dr. Shiva have even? He wasn't born in the U.S. He couldn't have even been president.
No, he couldn't have served, but he could have been elected.
No, he could have been elected. Yes, but he can't serve as president.
It doesn't matter. I wrote the dude in. I don't care. I mean, listen. We have a rules-based order, not a law-based order. So that's first and foremost. Second, anyone that thinks that Trump is going to do anything he campaigned on, I have a bridge I will sell you, because he proved on his first term, and keep in mind, I was Trump's biggest supporter in 2016. I lost a job with Verizon over him because I was out there campaigning for him. So,
you were an actual supporter, like
yes, like I was volunteering. I was holding signs on the road.
Wow.
Like, Trump ran as a third-party candidate in the establishment of the Republican Party. That's how you know that there's an appetite in this country for a third party. Trump ran as that. The problem is that Trump is a jellyfish. He will go with whoever praises him. Second of all, he's going to go with whoever it is able to prop up his empire. That is first and foremost. That's why whenever that's why I gave up on the Republican Party. If you reach across the aisle like I do with Ted, then I get called a communist. On the flip side, though, is that the lefties like Ted call me a Nazi. So which of the two is it? You can't be both at the same time. Yet who we are is because I don't have this Trump Messiah complex. The dude is a complete douchebag. He should be impeached. He should be thrown out on his ass.
On emoluments alone.
If I could vote for, like I did in the past, in the California primaries, Ron Paul 2008, Ron freaking Paul. That's who I actually support, and Clovis.
Clovis is a good option.
That is where we're at with this dumb douchebag, and we know that all politicians of all stripes from each team are full of shit. Sometimes they do one or two small things that they've claimed, on their stumping platforms that they were going to do, but mostly not. I mean, like Obama, like what a snake oil salesman Obama was. But I mean,
so
hello
on YouTube, Backside of Nowhere says something that is extremely true. Most people vote against their self-interest, and I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. I don't think we should have our system, but like for example, most Democrats are basically don't benefit from Democratic tax schemes and welfare state stuff because they don't benefit from it. They vote for it because they believe in it, and it goes against. It costs them money. Conversely, most Republicans tend to be, tend to vote for things that harm them. For example, foreign wars that they disproportionately send their sons and daughters to fight and die in. Again, they believe in those things. And I mean, I think it's like you should have a set of ideals, and whatever those are, if you find a candidate that's reasonably close to it, you vote for that person. And if you can't, then you don't vote at all, which is really what most Americans do. They don't vote at all. And that's because, as Robbie points out, there's a massive pool of tens of millions of eligible voters who choose not to vote because there's no good choices. It's the poo and the shit that you alluded to. And so they're like, I don't like either
salad.
one, so I'm not going to bother. And I don't think that the Libertarians or the Greens have a chance of winning. So I'm just going to sit home and, play with my whisk.
I'm going. Okay. And that's to the next story. I'm going to still say it. Ron Paul, Thomas Massey, Rand Paul is like weak sauce version of his dad.
Was Rand named after Ayn Rand?
No idea.
No, his name's Randall. I think his real name's Randall.
I mean, I'm about to break every right winger's brain before I go back to the back end of producer land. If I lived in New York, and y'all know me, I am not a lefty in any way, shape, or form. I'm a fundamentalist Christian. I would have voted for Mondani because he is closer to what I want than anyone else in the Republican or the Democratic parties. When he was asked, what foreign country would you go to? He said, none of them. I want to stay here and work for New York. That's enough for me. Because we have no one going out there and saying that. We have people in Congress who have the flags of foreign countries in their office, who advocate for other nations all the time. Meanwhile, our own home is falling apart. I would vote for a Marxist Muslim. And Islam is a evil religion. I would vote for that man. I would vote for him because he said I would put New York first. That is, to me, is the most moral thing any elected leader could ever possibly say. You got to lead your people.
I agree, and I don't understand. By the way, politicians of either party who don't put America first. I remember it blew my brain when under Bill Clinton, when he was arguing for NAFTA, and he said, it's really important. He said this repeatedly. It's really important for there to be more jobs in Mexico, and for them to increase their quality of living. And I was like, okay, if it doesn't cost us a penny, I'm all for it. But no one was arguing that. The argument was like, oh, it'll cost us plenty and we're going to lose jobs. But look at the bright side. We'll have, something in, we're going to have something going on here we're going to create jobs in Mexico. And I was like, fuck Mexico. Like, the United States needs to concentrate on the United States. I don't understand for 1 second why, he thought that was a legitimate argument or that anyone bought it. It was crazy. It was like, you're the president of the United States. You took an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, not Mexico.
Well, I can answer that question for you, Ted. But the thing is, you already know the answer is because that's what the donors wanted.
Oh, sure. That's right.
The
corporate donors.
The fact that the United States government is so cheap, it is literally the epitome of a cheap whore. Our government will sell itself, lay on its back,
true,
for anyone.
And our politicians are also
very cheap.
Our politicians will literally sell out the entire nation for, say, a $40,000 campaign contribution. Really, truly, like if you're going to be corrupt, you should get more money out of it.
I completely agree.
It's really, really, really gross.
I tell you, the thing that pisses me off the most is, we have Trump who's actually running interference now for pedophiles in our government, saying that the Jeffrey Epstein the client list doesn't exist. So he was just trafficking people, these women to Martians or somebody, because there's obviously no customers. Trump is running cover for him, but John Kiriakou can't get a pardon.
True.
How corrupt, how just utterly corrupt does our system have to be before people will realize what's happening?
Well, so here's the thing, Robbie, right? I think the problem is like, okay, so I can use Trump as an example, but I can just as easily do Biden or Clinton or Obama.
Well, it's all the same.
It's all the same. But the point is, like, what happens is, let's take the particular name out of it. So there's a campaign. You're a member of a certain party, not you, Robbie, but just a generic person. Sure. And you vote for the candidate from your party who makes all sorts of promises that you believe. Then they betray those promises, and not because they had to, because they want to, and it's, fun for them, and they never really believed them in the first place. All right, we all know that's how this works.
Sure.
What I don't get is, like, to most people, if you were betrayed like that by, say, your employer, you'd quit. Or if you were betrayed to that extent by a friend, you'd stop talking to them. If you were betrayed to that extent by your boyfriend or girlfriend, you'd break up with them. But they don't do that. They're like, people forgive their political party no matter what they do, right? They're just like, I know you like gave it to me good and hard with no lube from the backside, but that's fine. Like, thank you, sir. I'll have another. It's like, to me, it's really crazy how people will accept, like MAGA world will totally accept the rise of the neocons that they voted against. Democrat world will totally keep supporting candidates who betray them on the minimum wage and healthcare and all these issues that they care about over and over. Why don't they just break up with these parties? Oh,
I can answer that question for you. It's because the propaganda is so strong is that, yes, I'm screwing you, but those people in that political party, they're so much worse. They're going to screw you worse than what I do. I bet you that if you did a poll of your friends who've ever watched You and Me Come On, I bet you most of them would tell you that I am a racist, nativist, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, Nazi, and I am incredibly dangerous, and I should be deported to some island out in the
Alligator Alcatraz.
In fairness, none of my friends have ever told me that about you, but who watch the show.
Well,
I'll be honest. Most of my friends say, like, holy shit, what's up with Robbie? He's crazy. And then they'll say, but he's also really smart. That's what they'll say.
Well, that's good to hear. Maybe there is some hope. But on the flip side, though, like on my side of the aisle on the right, with the Republicans, oh, yeah, the Republicans are screwing us over, but at least they're not communists doing it. Right. At least it's not a red dildo going up my butt.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it is on the other side, right? Like,
on that note, we should go to the
granted,
next story.
Biden's out of his fucking mind and he's half dead and can't wipe his own ass, but he's at the
lot of dildo and ass talk right now.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder what's coming up soon.
Well, it's
what's coming in.
That's because we're getting screwed.
Maybe it's time to whisk away to the next topic.
I agree. I'll go away.
With that note, I'm going to say no parties. Like, that's just, I'm not a party voter. I don't care. So I don't care whose party is what, but at least the party isn't actually in my butthole.
There's not yet.
No. Here's the next story that I'm a hard, definite no. Don't do this at home. Do not do this at home.
All right. I wish that we had like bum ba bum.
We don't have video to accompany.
All right, but anyway, here we go. So the police discovered
the police burst down the door to the.
Oh, here we go. A 39-year-old woman in Belgrade, Serbia, was found in her apartment by her former husband. She was lying on her left side on the living room couch. Her body was covered with a blanket. The police removed the blanket to examine her body. She was naked from the waist down, no visible signs of violence or injury. Then the police discovered an object protruding from the woman's anus, a spring twirl whisk. The wooden handle of said whisk had been inserted into her anus to a depth of about 4 inches, penetrating her anus and rectum as a dildo-like object, doctors wrote in their report. According to the ex-husband, the woman had high blood pressure, also known as arterial hypertension, She was taking meds for that. An examination of her cranium revealed a subarachnoid hemorrhage that's bleeding between your brain and a layer of tissue that surrounds the brain. The blood had pooled to a depth of up to 0.2 inches around the base of the brain and the stem. When the medical examiners cleared out the clots, they discovered a ruptured saccular aneurysm. That's a blood-filled sphere that ballooned from a blood vessel in her brain. This is also known as a berry aneurysm. Aneurysms are more common in women than in men, particularly in women with low estrogen, especially postmenopausal women. People with hypertension also are more likely to develop aneurysms. Physical exertion, you can see where we're going here, Manila, raises your blood pressure, and orgasms elevate it even more. In this woman's case...
Wait, so it's a better orgasm is what?
Perhaps so. Her partial nudity, body posture, and the presence of the whisk suggested that she was using the tool for anal self-stimulation. Her sexual excitement and subsequent orgasm temporarily caused her blood pressure to spike enough to rupture the aneurysm, causing her to die. Sexual activity is not that uncommon of a cause of sudden death. In prior studies that looked at nearly 130,000 forensic autopsies, 0.15% of all deaths were linked to sex. Only a fraction of the deceased were women. When someone dies during sex, either shortly during or shortly afterwards, it's usually an older dude with a much younger female partner. And the cause of death is typically abrupt cardiac failure. For women, sudden death during sex is often caused by a subarachnoid hemorrhage from a burst saccular aneurysm. However, this is the first known case to present such a scenario for a woman's death during anal self-stimulation. So now you know.
So that is why you guys understand now why I was like, no, don't do this. Just don't. So the video that I'm rolling on screen is like an animation of somebody covering weird deaths by thrill-seeking
self-stimulation.
That there's just all kinds.
She put a whisk in her bunghole. She put a whiskey whisk in her bunghole.
But here's the thing. There's probably tens of thousands of people around the world putting whisks or whatever up their butthole, and they're not dying. But it's because
so keep it up, guys. Have fun.
They don't have whatever health problem, this hypertension that this woman had. So to me, this is a cautionary tale to be aware of your cholesterol levels and your, before you engage in self-stimulation of any sort. Because I'm all for it. Like me, I'm very liberal in that sense. Like boys who like girls who like boys, whatever. That's fine. Do it. Whatever floats your boat, as long as they're adults, they're consent. If it's a person, if it's yourself.
I don't know. Do you think the whisk was able to offer consent in this situation? I think there's other issues here.
But just you be aware.
First of all, I think
you're going to puncture you're going to rupture your large
deeply
intestine, your colon.
This is a reminder that it's always good when you visit someone's home to make sure that they have both a kitchen whisk, a discrete kitchen whisk, and a sex whisk is a separate whisk. Should be kept in a separate place. And if you don't see that clear delineation when you visit a home, it might not be a good idea to eat there.
If she invites you over to dinner, I wonder how many people she's made breakfast for.
Exactly. Yeah. And then also, it's a reminder that probably in America, the lesson here is that we're going to start buying whisks, and they're going to have a stick warning label on it on the side. Do not use before you have checked out your cholesterol level.
Seriously.
And if you're
too many eggs,
or if you're postmenopausal. Yeah.
That's that too. I mean,
it's not for those eggs. It's for these eggs.
It's for full circle. It's full circle, right? Like a whisk is commonly used for eggs.
Yeah.
Women have eggs.
Not postmenopausal ones, though.
No.
That's what went wrong here.
That's
if
where
she
this
had
woman
still had
didn't
eggs,
get it.
The whisk would have been appropriate. Except
We
she
shouldn't
was
be
going in on
laughing.
the backside where the eggs don't
Right.
live.
That's not how you retrieve eggs.
No.
Pretty sure for IVF, that's not how they get them, Ted.
Also, I find this interesting because, my understanding is that it's men who can be stimulated through their prostate. I was, and from the rear entry position, I didn't
That's what I hear.
know that anal stimulation could bring a woman to orgasm. Now, I've heard of women coming to orgasm, pun intended, from all sorts of ways. Some women can, be stimulated from their toes or whatever, and can come that way. But it's unusual. I think it's unusual for a woman to be able to have such an orgasm that she would die from it.
Oh,
But by the way,
rupturing in the back of your brain,
and we do all have to go. I mean, this is not the worst way. She died.
People die from
pleasure.
their own self asphyxiation all the time with like the belts and stuff.
Michael Hutchins style.
That's right. Oh, and breaking news: Linda Yaccarino stepping down as CEO of X.
I never even knew she was the CEO of X.
Yeah, she's the lady that came from NBC, and when Elon first bought Twitter, she clamped down on free speech. Actually,
by the way, there's
I'm
other
surprised she
breaking
lasted
news
this
too.
long.
So, friend of the show and my best friend Scott Stantis texted me during the show to inform me that one of our colleagues, Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist Steve Benson, who I knew very well, has passed away at the age of 71 of a stroke. He was the cartoonist for the Arizona Republic, which is a major paper in Arizona, and it's also in Phoenix. It's the big paper in Phoenix.
Yeah.
He was famous because he was from Mormon royalty, and basically his great-great-grandfather, I think I have that right, was one of the founders of the Mormon Church in Utah, and he broke away from the church and became a militant and very overt atheist, anti-Mormon atheist, and so they shunned him. He lost his entire family, and then he was an interesting guy. So yeah.
Oh well, there's two bits of unrelated. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry about your friend, but 71, not very old, at least by today's standards.
No. I wonder if a whisk was involved. I'd like to think that he left this world in the most dignified way possible, wearing the hat of dignity, the sombrero, while pleasuring his anus with a whisk. Steve, if that was you, a grateful nation salutes you.
Well, stroke, aneurysm, same family of brain blood issues. So, could be. I hope he went out with a bang and peacefully. But geez, this woman.
And by the way, later after the coroner is done, I think it's also important that to get the word out through public service announcements that when the whisk is returned as evidence, it needs to be very thoroughly cleaned. I mean, this is not time for your half-out. It's hard to wash a whisk anyway. And
you have to probably dip it in Barbicide, at the barbers they have that blue, just put the whole damn thing in the whole vat.
Maybe leave it in the Barbicide forever. And we have an ad, so I'm going to go ahead and read that sucker. Here we go.
All right, let's do that.
All right, still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Here's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check or a whisk. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash, all single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. It is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. All right, so I got to admit, Um, I'm looking at my whisk
Next story.
now
Next
with
story.
a certain
No, Ted. No.
lust.
No. First of all, do you know your cholesterol levels?
No, actually, I have low
Do
cholesterol.
you know?
So I
So
think I'm whisk prime. I think I'm ready to whisk. I'm ready to whisk myself away
Whisk
to
away.
a land of pleasure.
What did that woman know about why a whisk? What did she know about a whisk that the rest of us never knew? She took that with her, Ted. That knowledge.
That's true. Well, in the afterlife, when we all meet at the afterlife cocktail party, I'll have the chance to ask her, and we'll have nothing but time. So, I will definitely.
You know how I've been summer TV show hunting. I'm skimming through stuff. So there's a show on. I think it's on NBC. I think I saw an episode. I had it playing while I was cleaning the house the other day. A show called, I think it's called Ghosts, plural, Ghosts, and it's super corny. Like, I don't know how it made it on major network television. But the idea of the show, the premise is that this young couple inherits this old, like, I don't know, Victorian style house from, like, I don't know, somewhere in Maine or something like that. And it's haunted by generations of ghosts that have at one point or another in history inhabited that land or that home itself, right? And the ghosts have whatever killed them, like they're still in that position. So if you're like eaten by a bear, one of them, you look like you got clawed to death and eaten by a bear. So this woman, if she did indeed go that way, I mean, they found her with the whisk up the backside. I'm inclined to believe that her ghost, her spirit, like, that's how you're going to be in the afterlife, according to this NBC Peacock show. Therefore, in the afterworld, Ted, she's still going to have the whisk hanging out her backside.
That's, I believe in that. I've always thought that it was, I always wanted to know, what do you look like? Do you choose your best time? Like, can I say, like, oh, I was hot when I was 34, at 2 p.m. that one day.
Right, I'm going to pick that. Like that. Yeah. My best hair day.
Yeah,
can I show up in the afterlife?
Moment when the steering wheel punctures my chest,
right?
Because some
so according to this show,
brake check.
According to this show, that's how you appear in the afterworld, in the afterlife. That's way credible. You died at the age you died.
That's credible, I think.
Blood stains and all, same clothes. That's where your life ended, so that's how you appear in the afterworld.
I mean, at least she goes through the afterlife with the most dignity of anyone. Or maybe she's like just having an orgasm the entire time she's dead. So that's cool too. I don't think that would be okay. No, if you hear that kind of sound, whoever inhabits her apartment next in Belgrade, if you hear that, it's a ghostly groan. Yeah, I mean, look, let's just be happy she never turned to the electric blender. All right, let's keep going.
Let's move this along.
Let's keep going. It's important for this is actually very important also, almost as important as the last story. It's very important for anyone considering to stop using their antidepressants, not to do so cold turkey, but rather to carefully taper off. Antidepressants, of course, can be helpful for short-term relief, but for depression, they're most effective during the first 6 months of use. For certain conditions like OCD, long-term use may be recommended. Adele Framer started the online forum Surviving Antidepressants in 2011 after 7 years of withdrawal symptoms. Listen to that, 7 years of withdrawal symptoms after quitting an antidepressant. Volunteer moderators share the best practices for tapering off, referring to a handbook for doctors written by a British psychiatrist. His method of reducing your dose gradually by 10% of the previous dose each month over a year or more, for example.
So weaning off.
Very slowly. Differs dramatically from the standard medical guidance, which you will probably be given by your doctor, which is tapering off over just a few weeks. Framer has worked with researchers to extract patient narratives from the forum into data that can be analyzed. This data has been used in many published articles. For example, one sought to establish the duration and common symptoms of protracted withdrawal. There's a hidden public health problem in people experiencing withdrawal symptoms because they and their doctors don't know how to gradually reduce the dosage, she said, and people don't learn this in medical school. Recently, she's turned her attention to a new endeavor, a nonprofit called the Psychotropic Deep Describing Council, catchy name, which she founded in 2023. The council's goals are to develop best practices for tapering off psychotropic medications to minimize the risk of withdrawal symptoms and relapse, and to inform clinicians about them. And now the APA, the American Psychiatric Association, is paying attention. Dr. Alan Schatzberg, a Stanford psychiatrist who's also a consultant to the APA, says he thinks depression is worse than withdrawal symptoms and warned we wouldn't want people not to take medication. But because the group received complaints about PSSD from patients, the APA's Research Council has finally started to review this new literature and look at other lasting problems caused by antidepressants. The results will be published eventually. Most existing studies on SSRIs and SNRIs were not designed to assess withdrawal or long-term use. Horowitz said he'd like to see government funded research that follows long-term antidepressant users' experiences after they go off the drugs. We don't know what's going to happen next to the U.S. On the one hand, RFK Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services, is a critic of these antidepressants. On the other hand, the Trump administration has cut off federal funding for biomedical research as well as staffing at federal health agencies. So probably nothing will be improved there. I thought that was really important. It's a topic that we really don't talk nearly enough about.
Approximately, and we should, because at least here in the U.S., approximately 42 million Americans, approximately 17% of Americans, Ted, we're inching to 1 out of 5 Americans are on some sort of SSRI. That's wild. Like I can't wrap my brain around that almost 1 out of 5 Americans are taking, or adults are taking.
Right? I mean, I wonder what percentage of Americans have ever used them.
Right. I'm looking at statistics and data right now from the CDC and NIH. And yeah, it's roughly 17% of adults right now. Mm-hmm. Right now
so
are
that's
on
1 in 6.
Yeah. So they're good math, Ted. So yes, that's a lot. That's a lot of people.
It sure is.
And what happens when, like, one, are we over prescribing? Number one, I would say sometimes yes. Like I think there are many people that are just over prescribed and looking for answers in, the Vitamin. The answer to all your problems is in this little bottle. I love Lucy. Vitamin. That's, I think, where we are. And granted, that was like 1956 when Lucille Ball had that episode, right? And here we are 60 years later, and we seem to have answers to every condition in this little bottle. That's concerning. And then you have withdrawal.
Well, SSRIs the thing is, there's a lot about them that are problematic. Like, for example, they lose their efficacy. Sometimes patients end up having to switch from one to another kind because one kind stopped working. And there's always a concern that at a certain point, victims of depression will run out of anything that they can use that will actually work. So there's that. Then basically there's this addiction aspect, which is really what we're talking about. And it's like if you go off them, there can be all sorts of really negative psychological and physical effects. And then people are told, okay, just wean yourself off over the course of 3 weeks. But it turns out that that doesn't really work. You really need to go off very, very, very slowly. So, I mean, I think, this is, I was happy that we brought this up so that people have a chance to find out about that, ask their doctors.
Yeah. And
if you're really depressed, you might want to consider, instead of going on an SSRI, take another look at that whisk, look at your butthole, you put it together, You figure out what to do. You'll know.
I'm
It
I'm
comes
gonna
naturally. Since
I'm
ancient
gonna
times, the first time a woman looked at her stone whisk and decided
her
it was time.
pestle, maybe
Maybe
her
she was
her
gonna,
mortar and pestle.
She was her own mortar. Well, wait, no. She was her own pestle. That's right.
Pestle. She'd be her own
Her
pestle.
bunghole was her pestle. Her bunghole was her pestle. Her pestle was her
So
bunghole.
I'm gonna speak for the other 2/3 of the show and say that Robbie and I, as members of the TMI show, do not advocate for doing all of these things to yourself, including self-medicating and all. I lean, as you know, Ted, I lean more towards the RFK Jr. side of,
I do.
So I'm very anti-meds myself. And, but not by any means anti-vax or anything. My kid has his vax, but we went way off the CDC suggested timelines. That's just my own thing. But, that was my preference. And with meds, I think there are a lot. Look, there are studies out there now, 20 whatever years later, since Tom Cruise was jumping on Oprah's yellow couch, right? Talking about how he's in love with Katie Holmes and how great all of this shit is. And he also, on that famous episode, Tom Cruise was talking about how he doesn't believe in these SSRIs and all of that stuff. And it was very controversial 20 or 25 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago when he was saying that.
Well,
but now
also because he's a Scientologist and they don't believe in that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And I think do the Mormons not either? I don't
know.
I'm not sure.
Obviously,
but
Christian Scientists obviously don't.
Yeah, I know those followers don't believe in these types of drugs. But fast forward 20 or 25 years, here we are. We're talking about stuff that's accepted in science now because it's been proven in the psychology world, where cognitive behavioral therapy is now CBT is a known thing to actually work and help people, and people not using big pharma to be the answer to everything. All of these self-help things. I mean, there's so many other things now. So I'm more from that world. And yes, because I'm a California hippy dippy crunchy, whatever, green gunk.
You're a hippy
yogi.
dippy crunchy. Not.
I like green gunk, but I am those things though. I am like I do those things. Like I was practicing yoga and Pilates like 25 years ago. Maybe longer, 27 years ago, maybe.
I don't think Pilates is a hippy dippy thing.
Well, no, now it's mainstreamed, but back then
it was founded by a military dude.
Pilates? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about the founding, but yoga, certainly I've been practicing that stuff since I was like 18 years old. So the whole theory of being able to meditate and control your brain and your emotions and to be able to clear it, that's like a Buddhist founding from 3,000 years ago, so this has been around a long time. And when people made fun of Tom Cruise back then, I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think he's totally wrong in saying those things about, have a better understanding of how to control your own mind, your own brain, your own emotions, and the serotonin and the serotonin receptors and all of that stuff. It's real now. But Tom Cruise just, went a little wacky when he was presenting I Love Katie, we know. Robbie, can we get that ad back up so we can do it properly?
No, we're not reading. I forbid it. We're not reading the same ad again just because I fucked up. No, we're not.
We have to issue it.
We're not doing it again. We're not reading. We're not subjecting the listeners to the same ad twice. I fucked up. What happened is that we're supposed to hit a magic button before I read the ad, and I didn't push the magic button, and I read the ad anyway. So we didn't get any money for this ad, and so that's my fault, and I'm bad, and I will punish myself by not indulging in the whisk today. But I am not at all reading that. I forbid it. We're not reading it again.
All right. Next
we're
topic.
taking that
next
dig.
topic.
We're taking that.
Next
dig.
topic.
Okay.
All right, next topic.
All right.
This
The
is
TSA,
the
the TSA, also more news you can use. The TSA will no longer make you take off your shoes at the airport. That, according to Gulag Queen Kristi Noem, on her way to putting down another puppy. TSA had been requiring most air travelers, of course, to take off their shoes for over 20 years. The new policy goes into effect as of immediately yesterday. We expect this change will drastically decrease passenger wait times at TSA checkpoints, leading to a more pleasant and efficient passenger experience, Noem said. TSA started the no shoes policy back in August 2006 after dipshit crazy man Richard Reed, the so-called shoe bomber, used matches in an attempt to try to ignite some explosive devices that were hidden in his shoes while flying from Paris to Miami. Over 1 billion people flew through airports in 2023 on over 10 million flights. Most of them had to take off their shoes unless they had TSA pre, which I do, because no one wants me to take off my shoes at the airport. They are too smelly. We are very confident that we can continue to provide hospitality to folks and for American travelers and for those visiting our country. Blah, 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 Kristi Noem said at Reagan Airport in D.C. She highlighted advancements in security technology. She didn't really say what those advances were, but basically said it's no longer necessary.
I don't think she understands what they are.
TSA pre launched and basically said the people who paid the money, which I'm one of them, are not required to take off their shoes. Kids under 12 who are incapable by physics of putting explosives in their shoes, and adults 75 and older, because their old age prevents them from blowing up their shoes.
So you can't, you can't be a shoe bomber if you're 70, 74.
And apparently in other TSA related news, they are looking at the possibility of eliminating the requirement that you take out your laptop out of your bag
or iPad or
separate
whatever.
and all
so
that stuff.
Dumb.
And it may be that we're going back to a pre 9/11 posture. I mean, we all knew this was performative.
It's just been an illusion. Yeah.
By the way, if Richard Reed had succeeded, you can't really get enough explosives into your shoes to put a hole in the side of a plane.
Like I think I think not even a Shaq size foot, a Shaquille O'Neal size shoe.
Even my father, who I think was a size 16, could not have brought down a passenger plane.
Yeah, that's just not.
It wasn't going to work.
Go off his foot, and it would be a gory.
Now, there's no word on what's going to happen to the 3.3 ounce requirement for liquids and gels. However, I did a deep dive into this for an article that I wrote. Let me tell you, there's no scientific basis whatsoever for the liquid prohibition on American airplanes. The theory behind it, Manila, was binary explosives. The theory behind it was that it is true that you can take two chemicals in separate containers, put them together, and create an explosive liquid. That's true. But in order to do that, you have to titrate them through sort of like a chem lab device and it takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And during that time, any two liquids that does this, they all generate they create cyanide gas. Okay. So you can see where I'm going with this. So if you're sitting in your seat, like for an hour,
just mixing a cocktail,
trying to mix your cocktail, the odds are that probably other people are going to notice that, first of all, they're going to be dying all around you, and you'll be dying because you're mixing it. But also,
unless you boarded with a mask with your
you could be like an ice goon with your mask. What's your other approach? You could go
like a gas mask.
And I read all the literature on this. This is literally, I'm not making all this up. This is literally what the TSA says. The other thing is that you might do is you might go to the bathroom with your titration kit. Now, the bathroom is a tightly enclosed space. The only thing that's going to happen, you will die sooner. And
you will die sooner.
You will die sooner, all by your lonesome, possibly with a whisk inside your anus. And that'll be
they don't ban that.
And that's fine.
Ban the whisk.
And you'll be dead. You know, and the thing is also that's assuming that you can be in the bathroom for like an hour without like say everyone outside like knocking on the door, get the fuck out of the bathroom.
Like, get out of there, asshole.
Yeah, and then like, you know, eventually, you know, the flight attendant's going to open that door and find your stupid dead titrating ass in there. So
so
there's no science for that at all. None of that shit.
None of it.
We could go back
like,
to the way it
my
used
tiny
to be.
toothpaste. Like, you want me to carry this tiny toothpaste the size of literally the frame of my glass?
X-ray machines are a good idea. They won't catch a plastic gun, but certainly they will catch most guns. That's about it. X-ray machines. Go back to the technology from 1986 and you'll be fine.
A couple of years ago, Ted, while I was packing my carry-on bag, my son got a hold of my, you know, those collapsible steel batons?
Yeah.
So he was helping mommy pack, and I didn't know that he packed my steel baton.
Well, maybe he thought you were going off to ninja class.
So it was supposed to go into my
leave home without
check bag. It was supposed to go into my check bag. And so unbeknownst to me, I'm going through TSA with my carry-on bag, and they're like, "Ma'am, what is this?" And I'm like, that's my baton.
You should have said that it was like we should have explained that you were worried that your whisk wouldn't make it through the metal detector, so you brought that instead.
A real woman would use a steel baton, Ted. Not a whisk.
In Croatia, we use steel baton. In Serbia, they use little 4-inch whisk for their bottles very little in Serbia.
They confiscated my steel baton because my kid, and I literally, my son was there, so I was able to point, be like, that little bastard did it. I didn't do that. Like, they're like, "Ma'am, this is a federal offense," and I'm like, I didn't pack it.
So
my
they just
toddler must have
confiscated
put it in there.
obviously, right?
Yeah, and I was like, Can I pay for advance mail? Can you mail it to my home? Can
Nope.
I?
Nope.
Ah,
No, I'm
so
sure
that-
they were like,
okay.
you can go to the counter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You
and
can take this,
your
go back in
flight.
line, give this to a friend or family, meet them outside or whatever. And I'm
Actually,
like,
you know, that would be kind of like a great little service that TSA could. I'm not even kidding. Airports could have. This is an idea for an air. I don't know if it's a viable company, but it would be great if at TSA there was like a UPS drop box where for all the stuff that you know, oh fuck, I brought my Swiss Army knife. Oh
yeah,
fuck,
like,
I brought
fuck.
my ass whisk.
There's a lot of these. Oh fucks! How did this end up in my carry-on?
Right, and it would be great.
There's
if,
a
like,
lot of that.
But it would be really great if it's like it scans your credit card and you can just drop it into the bin and then you get it like 3-day mail and you could charge a premium for that. You could charge like airport pricing.
Go flirt with this lady. You find her pretty. Go flirt with this lady.
I'm not getting close to that fucking crazy ass.
Yeah, but that's for
bitch.
the business idea. I've thought of several things too, of like, how do I fix this TSA problem of all these people, like forgetting that they brought whatever on board or what?
People look, honestly, even if
people
the standard,
would pay for that.
A lot of these items are very small. They would probably really only truly cost like $4 or $5 to send. And I bet if you charged 10, people would be like, "Oh, I pay $10 for that." Yeah,
I would have paid $10 to for them to hold and ship my. I would have paid $30 for that. It was a really nice, expensive, good.
While we're at it, probably did you know that TSA is a workfare program?
Workfare program?
Do you know
I don't
what
even know.
workfare is? A lot of TSA employees are former welfare recipients that are required to work by the state to continue to receive their welfare. And so it's a workfare program, and which is why you sometimes don't see the highest quality, smartest individuals, in the front line of America's war on terror. That explains a lot. Even though we're seeing Kristi Noem talking, and if you look here, protect the homeland. Yeah, I feel. I think I know. That
you're saying it's not America's finest.
I'm saying that like if ISIS is watching, they're not that scared. I would say. Did you see the movie? Did you see the movie Get Out? where the brother is a TSA.
Oh, yes.
And he's
Yes.
like, TSA gets it done. The
So
howling in the theater really just
So
tells the
dumb.
whole
But,
story.
Anyway, so that is news you can use, but right now it's being rolled out only at like this is DCA, Reagan National. I can tell by the bow truss ceiling. But she's showing up. Look, she's not wearing her fake ice outfit,
Mhm.
right? She's actually dressed like a businesswoman or professional at this moment.
Mhm.
So, she cosplays a lot, but she says this is being rolled out at certain airports. I imagine DCA is the first one because she probably flies in and out of there. And you shouldn't be exempt just because you're the Homeland Security boss. Like just because you're a cabinet member, you shouldn't. No, you should take off your fucking shoes too, bitch.
Madam Secretary, there seems to be some kind of spiral object protruding from your bottom.
From your rectum. So it's a good start. None of it was all theater to begin with. The x-ray machines and the occasional pat downs, which Ted, I've been randomly selected a few times in my life, Ted.
Mm-hmm.
You get the multiple, it's like a chunk of letters in your boarding pass. If you ever see that, it's stamped at the top of your boarding pass. It's printed, and it'll be like, 5 X's or 5 S's, or if you see a big chunk of the same letters, you've been randomly selected. Congratulations. I tend to get that, and
was this
I have
when
to
you
wait
worked
for
at RT, and was it a bunch of hammers and
before
sickles
when
side
I
by
was going in
side?
and out Middle East.
Was it little
RT,
pictures of Putin side by side?
That's right. They're like high alert. So you get the TSA. You wait for a TSA lady to come to you, and she like credit cards down your sleeve.
Hey, what if you're trans?
Credit cards.
If you're
down
trans,
your rear.
can you request, like,
Swipe.
let's say you're a trans woman, can you have a pat down by a woman?
I don't know. But I'm just saying, for me as a biological female, I had to wait for female TSA agents to be available to come do the swipe down the front, the credit card swipe, zoop, down the front, and a credit card swipe down the back, zoop, upwards. Then they check your hair.
For whisks.
Yeah, they were checking my bunghole for whisks, dangerous whisks. And like they check your hair because women have been known to like hide like whisks. I was going to say razor blades, but
sure,
stuff in their hair.
Knives.
So if your hair is
you could hide with like well, Christine Nome has a sizable amount of hair. She could as Nick Lowe would
hide
say,
a whole
big hair.
Hide a whole
what
whisk
you
in
doing?
There.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then on to our last story, Ted. This one is fun. I like this one.
What, as opposed to the last ones? They've all been fun. All right.
Another science story.
By the way, this is an example of insane rich people going crazy. Filmmaker Peter Jackson, who's of course known for the Lord of the Rings movies, owns one of the largest private collections of an extinct New Zealand bird known as the moa. His fascination with the supposedly flightless ostrich-like bird has led to an unusual partnership with a biotech company known for its controversial plans to bring back dangerous lost species. On Tuesday, Colossal Bioscience announced an effort to genetically engineer living birds to look like the extinct moa, which once stood, wait for it, 12 feet tall, with $15 million in funding from Jackson and his lunatic partner, Fran Walsh. The collaboration also includes the New Zealand-based Ngai Tahu Research Center. The movies are my day job, and the moa are my fun thing I do, said Jackson. Every New Zealand schoolchild has a fascination with the moa. Outside scientists say the idea of bringing back extinct species is likely impossible, although it might be possible to tweak the genes of living animals to have similar traits. The moa roamed New Zealand for 4,000 years until they became extinct about 600 years ago. They say due to overhunting. However, it is also alleged that they viewed human beings as prey, and the locals decided to kill all the moas.
Fake news.
Smash their eggs. No, that's it. What I'm telling you is not fake news.
That is Ted's fake news.
No, moas were dangerous birds. They were 12 feet tall. and they could kill anything they wanted.
You're a sizist.
Death from above. I mean, no, their
Not
prey
true.
was
They
5
can't- they're
foot tall bipeds. And it
They're
was like,
flightless bird. No, they're
yeah,
flightless
supposedly
birds.
flightless.
Ted is fake
Nobody
newsing it
knows
right
that they
now,
were
and I
flightless.
will not stand by it. Other than these adorable dire wolves and woolly
Disgusting.
rats.
Disgusting.
Look at those woolly rats from Colossal
large-
Bioscience.
All right, a large moa skeleton.
But this thing,
All right,
this
a large,
moa thing,
a large
right there.
moa skeleton brought to England in the 19th century, now on display at the Yorkshire Museum, prompted international interest in the long-necked, terrifying bird. Unlike Colossal's work with dire wolves, the MOA project is in very early stages. Began with a phone call after Jackson heard about the efforts to de-extinct the woolly mammoth and the dire wolf. Then he decided to turn over some of his MOA bones over to Colossal. First, they're going to have to identify the best preserved bones to extract the DNA. They'll compare those to the genomes of living bird species like the ground-dwelling tinamu and the emu to find out what it was that made the moa unique compared to the other ones. Then Colossal used the same system to try to de-extinct dire wolves to find out the genetic differences between them and gray wolves. They took the blood cells from a living gray wolf, used CRISPR to genetically modify them. Pups with long white hair and muscular jaws were not intelligently and really terrifyingly born late last year and should all be
look
put
how
down.
cute they are right there.
Birds are different. They're harder because unlike mammals, bird embryos develop inside eggs. So the process of transferring an embryo will not be like IVF. If they succeed in creating a tall bird with huge feet and thick pointed claws like the moa, there's also the pressing question of where to put it. I don't know. The moon? Can you put a species back into the wild that you've exterminated once you've exterminated it here? I think it's exceedingly unlikely that they could do this in any meaningful way, said Duke University ecologist Stuart Pym. This will be an extremely dangerous animal, Manila, Pym added. The direction of the project will be shaped by Maori scholars at the University of Canterbury's Nagai Tahu Research Center. Maori, my apologies. Okay, so this is insane. These are terrifying
Well, I mean, look at the dire wolves. Look at the little baby dire wolves.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's cute now.
I mean,
just wait till it's an
you
adult.
said that you wanted a wolf as a pet. You
That's
said you
true,
want
but
to
not a
move to
dire wolf.
Moscow and
True.
be like the Russians, the Muscovites that walk around
True.
with a big ass wolf pet.
Yeah, that's true. But a dire wolf's bigger than a big ass wolf. That's too much of a good thing. And so
It's too much wolf.
Yeah,
Look how cute it is.
Look, I trust the wisdom of my Maori ancestors from 600 years ago. As you can tell, I'm
There's
100%.
Dr. Pym.
I'm 150%
right there from Duke.
Maori. And I don't trust
Dr.
this
Pym,
drunken
he
white
looks like a
man.
sorcerer.
I don't trust this drunken film director and his 3.5-hour films to tell us what to do here. I mean, these birds, the Maoris, they lived with these horrible creatures. There you are walking around, suddenly death from above.
They're not coming from above. Their wings, I don't know. I didn't know anything about
12 feet tall. They can do anything they
Moa
want.
bird. I didn't know anything about it until today.
Can't
but I
we
certainly don't trust.
Can't we
this
de-extinct
guy.
something like harmless, like the passenger pigeon? Like, why is it all like bitey, terrifying, man-killing creatures?
No, it is not. Ted is
dire
fake
wolf is a
newsing you
man-killing
guys,
creature.
and I'm not gonna stand for maligning the Moa bird. Ted is. I'm not gonna stand for it. This is New Zealand birds, nzbirdsonline.org, Ted. It's like the official bird sanctuary website for New Zealand.
Yeah,
right here.
This is the typical Kiwi propaganda.
This is the Moa that Ted doesn't want them to bring back.
These are
just
New Zealand
looks like
bots.
an ostrich. So it says right here.
Ostriches, by the way, are dangerous. I just want to point that out.
I'm sure it can be.
Emus
but
are dangerous too.
Right here, so it says right here that these things, the native habitat, whatever, this special North Island of whatever in New Zealand, and it tells you right here that it eats The food, based on their skull and bill morphology and the frequent presence of large masses of gizzard stones, it is likely that the North Island moa consumed a fibrous diet of twigs and leaves. Flowers, berries, and seeds from trees, shrubs, and vines were also taken, but they consumed few herbs or grasses. Ted, they're
Manila,
not attacking the Maori people.
I can't believe you're the stooge of Big Moa. You were buying the propaganda of the Kiwi bots.
I don't even like
And-
birds. But Ted, I have
It's 12 feet tall, Manila. It's more,
I know.
it's more than twice your height. You think
It's
that a bird that is
terrifying.
you think a bird that's more than twice your height
I'm
is
not
going to look
saying
at
it's
you
not
as
terrifying.
anything other than like I'm going to try you
What's
out in
it
my
gonna do?
gizzard. It's gonna
First
eat
of all,
you.
I don't think we should bring back extinct creatures. Number one.
Especially
Number two,
dangerous ones.
it's not dangerous. Number two, I think super rich people like Peter Jackson,
Who are, yeah.
they really need to find something else to do with their
Agreed.
as a hobby.
Have
Like,
another
this is-
drink, Peter. Cut the
Like,
shit.
dude, come on, dude. Like, really, you're gonna try to bring back this? He's obsessed with this bird, and he has the money to donate
If
to
I lived
Colossal.
there, I'd be obsessed with that bird too. In Turkmenistan, there's a monitor lizard called the zemzen. It can be 10 to 12 feet long. Its prey is cobras. It's
It eats
fast-
cobras.
Yeah, like hundreds at a time. It like bursts. Cobras live communally. It bursts into the den of cobras and just
Ew.
eats them. Okay, now
Okay.
if the Zemzen went extinct, I would say farewell and so long, and I would not want to bring it back. That's a dangerous animal. It's like, sure, anything that could eat that many cobras is fucking terrifying.
This guy is a dangerous director.
But I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the Zemzen. I think it's an amazing creature, but I don't want to bring it back. I don't want to bring them to the United States. I don't think they should be even in states that I don't particularly care for. I don't think they should be there.
So this guy, I think he needs to explore something, because in my learning about the MOA today, Ted, I discovered an alleged video of a MOA sighting.
What?
You ready?
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah. Look, it's a very short. This is like I feel like the MOA might be New Zealand's Bigfoot. Bigfoot is North America.
Pterodactyl. It flew majestically over the forest.
Fly. It's a
flapping its
12-foot
massive
bird with like
wings.
short, small wings. It did not fly. Okay, so look, is this a
did whatever
fake
it
video?
wanted. Let's see it.
Is it fake? Okay, ready?
Go.
This is from New Zealand Forest, April 15th of 2017.
Allegedly. Tax day.
Was that a MOA sighting?
Wait, that's it?
That was it. Look,
I don't see anything. Go
right
back.
there in the background, right there.
Where?
You don't see it moving behind the trees? Look.
Oh, there it is. Oh, come on. That's like
Okay. What is that? Is it real? Could it be a MOA?
well, you can
Could it
hardly
be
see
like
it.
Loch Ness?
It's
Is it like Loch Ness?
it's
Like,
like
is
Loch
this
Ness.
their Loch Ness monster in
Yes.
New Zealand?
Yes, it is.
So maybe, I mean,
Well, you know,
I think
sometimes
Peter
there are.
Jackson needs to go.
Well, the Caspian tiger is officially considered to be extinct. It's a Central Asian tiger, but locals in Tajikistan swear to God that it kills their Marco Polo sheep. So, which are not just sheep; they're like these giant rams. And I have, and there's considerable
not
evidence
flying.
that they're still around. So,
This bird is not flying, Ted.
why not?
It is not flying. Look at it. It's not flying. There's
Well, look,
Maori cave art that depicts what these things look like from 1,000 years ago. And this thing it's like an ostrich.
well,
It's
well, that's
not
because
flying.
back then the Maori couldn't fly; they didn't have airplanes, and they couldn't.
It's
They
not
could get
flying.
pictures of them. as they flew, they
That is
migrated for
using it.
thousands of miles, like flying 10,000 feet above the Earth's surface, like the lord of all they surveyed, and then they'd swoop down and kill saber-toothed tigers and eat them.
So I don't think this is the word. Oh, the female is bigger?
The female's a lot bigger. By the way, look at the size of that thing. And look, you can tell that bird's going to eat that dude.
They're not going to eat the dude. So I don't.
That dude's not even wearing clothes. He's got nothing working for him.
We can't stop colossal bioscience from
sadly
bringing back any of these creatures that they're working on, like the dire wolf, the woolly. They made a woolly rat. And now I guess
by the way, no one's on this part. I've been fooled. I mean, of course, obviously, I've been kidding around a lot through this, but this is a serious question. No one ever just asks Colossal, like, what's your point here? What are you trying to accomplish? Like, why?
Right, like I've not heard any reporter.
Like, I know you're doing.
I tried to invite them on the show, Ted. I sent them an invite to be a guest on the show.
Good.
They have not replied.
Mm-hmm.
When right when the dire wolf thing happened, I was like, I'm going to try to reach out to them.
Yeah, good.
They did not reply.
That's because
I would have
they're
asked
up to
them that.
no good.
I would ask them that
because they're part of Big Moa, and they're trying to. And I mean, honestly, I honestly answer this question: what is the point of this?
Right,
exercise?
like why?
So
would
let's
you
just say,
want
all
to bring
kidding
back
aside,
any of these?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's kind of like a lie. You're bringing back an animal that has a lot of the traits of a moa or of a dire wolf.
Right.
It's not really a dire wolf or a moa. But setting that aside, what's the point of this? Okay,
But
so
like, why?
I mean,
Just because honestly, you do?
I think, honestly, to me, the only way that this could possibly be responsible, and it still sounds like geoengineering, would be if you had a creature that went extinct and that it basically destabilized an ecosystem somewhere on the planet. Some species. It could be a bug, could be anything. But let's say, or a mouse. Well, but I don't think the kiwi bird was a key part of its ecosystem. But let's just say, I don't know, there's a certain grasshopper that you really, really... Oh, I got a great example. Bees and various frogs. Frogs are really crucial, right? And so let's say there's a type of frog that's gone extinct, and you're like, okay, well, we're going to bring back this frog in order to restore balance to this ecosystem. Probably still dangerous, but I understand the logic of it. But this is just like, we're just doing it because it's cool. Right?
Like this, yeah,
they're literally doing it like we think it would be cool. This
is the full set of bones of the moa in England from this undated, very old photo in England.
And look, it killed that guy, even in its present form. Is that guy alive now? No, he's not. Why? There's the evidence. That moa, that skeleton.
Now, I would say in Disney Pixar's movie Up. Do you remember that film Up from like 20 years ago? I love it. It's one of my favorite cartoons. And the bird, Kevin, I always thought it was modeled after like an ostrich. But now that I've learned about the moa, I think Kevin, the bird from Up, is modeled after a moa. Because he's giant. He looks like Kevin is actually a she. Kevin would be...
We could bring back the Maori. I think we need to bring back the Maori so we can ask the Maori. Listen, what was your beef with the moa?
The Maoris are alive,
Okay, but we need the Maoris from that period to come back and explain about the grave danger that was presented by the flocks of thousands of moas that darkens the sky.
They're cave drawings. Ted is fake newsing you. The cave drawings, the Maori cave drawings from 1,000 years ago do not depict the moas.
I'm going to put an end to this conversation right now. Look, we know that this is what happened.
Do not.
Yeah,
they ate them. The Maori people actually hunted them and ate them.
Self-defense.
And their eggs. They're giant. Can you imagine? They're massive.
Yeah.
To eat them with a whisk.
Yeah, they were like, fuck that bird. We're killing that bird.
To scramble their fucking eggs.
Once you've had
a giant whisk.
How would you like it if a giant bird swept down and ate your child?
I don't like birds. Ever since I saw Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds as a kid.
Well, those are mechanical and fake.
I don't care.
The
Ever
pro-
since then, don't like
But
birds.
here,
Don't like
this
birds.
bird is an evil bird, and it needs to not be. Look at the
I just don't
population of
agree
New
with-
Zealand. Hardly anyone lives in New Zealand. Have you even
Hardly any Maoris
have
left.
you ever
Is
met
that why?
anyone from New Zealand ever?
Yes, I know several.
How many? 2, 3.
Maybe 5
So
or 6.
that's a low population. What happened to
5
the
or
rest?
6
Eaten
Kiwis.
by moas.
I know 5 or 6 Kiwis, and like half of them are of Maori descent.
And I bet if you ask them, like, how would you feel about this massive bird, this man-hunting bird, like running around New Zealand, killing everything that it sees? Like, how would you feel about that? It's eating the cats, it's eating the dogs, it's eating the pets.
One of my Kiwi friends,
It's eating
his
the
name is
pet
Sala
owners.
Baker. Shout out to my buddy Sala. He most famously, he's a stuntman and an actor. Most famously, he is the Eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings.
Oh wow.
So my buddy Sala Baker is a Maori. I mean, he's built like a Maori warrior, big fucking dude. I haven't talked to him in ages, but shout out to Sala. I'm gonna have to email Sala and ask him about this bird of his ancient ancestors. I'm gonna have to ask him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to ask him.
They know about, like,
He's Maori.
They know about the moa killing fields. They know about
Ted, I think
how
Ted is
humanity
thinking
barely
this
survived in the antipodes.
But to Ted's point, Ted is right in pointing out that the Maori population is very low.
And also, did you note that quote from the expert who said this is a very dangerous animal?
And it was this expert from
so if this is just like, I'm just eating seeds in my
this guy. The bird is eating seeds from trees and shrubs.
Yes, I'm eating little seeds. All right, so if he's just eating little seeds, then how is it a dangerous animal, Manila?
I don't know, but Dr. Stuart Pym from Duke University here did not elaborate. So maybe he means it's dangerous to like the local bug population.
Uh-huh.
And that's what, because it eats some. Dr. Pym
That's
here
not
did not
at all
elaborate.
what he meant.
Dr. Pym did not elaborate, and I gotta say, I think Dr. Pym at Duke looks like
I'm listening to
Sean Penn.
Here's what
He
Grok
looked
has
like
to
Sean
say.
Penn in like Old Face. Tell me he doesn't look like Sean Penn.
Listen, standing up to 12 feet tall and weighing as much as 550 pounds, these massive birds had powerful legs and thick pointed claws that delivered serious injury if they felt threatened or were defending themselves. Their size alone made them a potential hazard, as a kick or charge could easily kill a human or other animal.
Sure.
All
But
right.
so can a kick from a horse or a donkey. I mean, animals kick, kangaroos punch and kick people every year.
Right, which is why also kangaroos are dangerous
Well, I don't know.
and
I
shouldn't
think
be allowed
we
to be
gotta
brought back from extinction.
We got to wrap, and I just want to, I know Peter Jackson is an avid watcher of the show, and I want him to pursue this creature, because why spend $15 million giving it to Colossal to build, to create a MOA-like bird?
By the way,
I think he should go hunt this one.
is tipping $5. Thank you very much.
Nerd,
Rumble.
thank you.
And he said, I'm assuming he's a he, sorry to God to side with Ted on this. We've got years of movie science to prove that these birds will kill us all. It's the law of Jurassic Park. Correct. That is right. So we come full circle. Use the whisk. Next time you find a MOA egg, use a whisk to chop that fucker up and eat it.
Look, we always hear about Bigfoot, the Yeti.
This is Big Bird.
This is a big bird in New Zealand, and somebody allegedly has this video footage that they put on YouTube that they say was a MOA sighting, a 12-foot fucking bird. If you guys look carefully, I'm going to play it again. You guys just look. Just look, okay, Ted? Look.
Can you freeze it on the relevant spot?
Yeah, but then if I freeze it, you can't even tell because it blends into the shrubs. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it blends. I mean, what is it? There's its tail right there.
Mm-hmm.
And its head is like up here. We don't know how tall this person is that's taping it. It's moving. Okay, there, right there. So it's all blended in, but it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can see my mouse on the screen or not. I don't know if you can, but
Mm-hmm.
it's right in the center of the screen right now. There it is. I don't know. I mean, it's like seeing Nessie. It's like seeing Bigfoot. It's like seeing, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we honestly don't know enough about the whole entire earth and every single ant. Like, how do you know that there isn't a small hidden population?
No, it's true. I mean, obviously, most new species that are identified tend to be insects. They're small. But every now and then, like the coelacanth, that big prehistoric fish, you find that something that you thought had been gone for hundreds of millions of years actually has been around. The colossal squid is a great example of that. It's a big creature that turns out to exist, and people thought it did not.
And not be extinct, or
well, they didn't even know it existed. So
exist
there's those
in real life.
There's those there's those depictions of the sperm whales involved in the epic clash with a giant squid, and like it was kind of like, well, squids don't get that big. Sailors be drinking a lot, and they're just saying they saw that shit on the high seas. But now they've been drugged up. They've been dragged up from the ocean's depths. And so, there's mega squid that are like many, many dozens of feet long. For real, those are for sure.
Well, I've heard of that. I don't know, Ted. I mean,
and there's various new mammals that have been found, so it's possible.
Before we go, Ted, I gotta ask you, because I need to know this. Do you believe in Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness? All of those so-called mythical creatures. Do you believe that there's a possibility that they can exist?
I don't really believe in Bigfoot. I don't think there's enough evidence.
You don't believe in Bigfoot?
But I do think there's a possibility, a small, very remote possibility, but not zero, vanishingly small possibility that Loch Ness is real. I think there's no evidence whatsoever to support Bigfoot at all.
I don't know. I believe more in Bigfoot than I do Loch Ness, but I think there's a possibility, a remote chance that those things exist. And there's a remote chance that this giant ostrich-like bird that we may have just seen video of it just now, that the one person on the internet has.
Right. Maybe.
One person. And they're probably like, what the hell?
That person
How come
was
nobody's
really,
liking my video?
They're very lucky that the bird didn't swoop down upon them and eat them. Obviously, he had recently fed on some villagers.
Well, Ted, that only happens after you recreate them, like in Jurassic Park. Then they become vicious. In the wild, they're maybe not.
We're at a 2-hour show. We got to go.
Yes.
All right.
This is a fun talk, and that's what Weird Wednesday is. That's what this is. Weird Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in, guys. And thank you, Nerd, for that donation.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate that, of course, because it's Weird Wednesday. Not every Wednesday, but today's Weird Wednesday. So we appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in and entertaining our stupid thoughts. Comment below and let us know if you actually believe in all of these things that Ted and I were just talking about. Bigfoot, Yeti, this Moa, and Loch Ness.
Evil Moa.
I'm curious to know. Hit the subscribe button, y'all. Adios, amigos. Thanks for being here. Bye.